on television. That's the problem. Yeah.
Going on forever.
Is it 3? Mm-hmm. Okay, welcome to the Tuesday, February 5th, 2013 meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. And tonight our invocation is led by Miss Jessica Orsak and is followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with me?
Jesus, I just want to say thank you for our mayor and for our city directors. Father, I'm just so thankful for their lives, Lord, and the sacrifices and the hours and the nights that they've laid down, Father, and just the hours of no sleep and the hours of toil, just thanking, Father, and processing, Father. Lord, I just want to say thank you for their lives. Father, we'll never know the sacrifices that they make, Jesus, but you know and you see. And I ask that you'd be their strength, and I ask that you would be their peace. And Father, I ask that you would be their joy. Father, that the joy of the Lord would be their strength, Lord Jesus. Father, I just ask you'd be their wisdom. And I just ask you to bless their families, Father, and that the hand of God would be on them. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While she's returning to her seat, I'll just give a little plug for Roland's Barbecue. They have the best potato salad in town, too. Thank you, Miss Jessica. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
McCabe.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Carney.
Here. The first item of business is to consider the approval of the agenda. Directors, are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda, including items, if any, to be removed from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none. I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the motion is adopted. Do what?
We have an eager bunch tonight.
Yeah, we do. Get on with this. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of approval of the minutes for our regular board meeting, which was held on January the 15th. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the minutes? Hearing none. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The motion is all in favor, please say aye, and please, the motion is adopted. Okay, I'll get it. It's been a long day, and I did take a nap. Okay, I will wake up. In an effort to afford everyone an equal and orderly opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, I ask that each of you adhere to a 3-minute limit on your comments, and there will be a little timer up on the board. And Lance over here has a little beeper. And we ask that you please adhere to that. Out of respect for all of the ones in our room, we ask that you silence your phones. And while the members of the board have a chance to speak, we ask that you please reserve any questions or comments until it's the board's turn to talk. So we allow our guests to speak first, and then we have the board's general comments reserved for the board discussion after the speakers are heard. We also ask that you refrain from any disruptions of the meeting, and should you need to leave prior to the conclusion of the meeting, please do so quietly, and do not talk to your friends as you leave because we're still in session. Thank you so much. We have a full house here tonight. We're so excited to see all of you. Thank you for being here, and we appreciate your interest in the business of your city. And we also want to recognize Sharon Noble has a class out at National Park Community College, and she sent a group of her students here who are studying local and state government, and that's a very dangerous thing to do because she sent me here to observe about 10 years ago, and now I'm the mayor. So I told you guys, be very careful because you may end up doing something very permanent. So would you please stand? Sharon Noble's class from National Park. Good to have you here. Thanks for coming. And we appreciate you and your interest in local and state government. We also have some guests here tonight. And I'm going to read a proclamation for the National Girls and Women in Sports Day. And we have guests Courtney Kindig, Maggie Hughes, and Zara Loy. And I think Ms. Garcia has invited them. Would you like to speak to that before I read the proclamation? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like to recognize this day and honor the achievements of some young women here that are here tonight because we are recognizing National Girls and Women in Sports Day. It's celebrated in all 50 states with community-based events and ceremonies honoring the achievements and encouraging participation of girls and women in sports. As we take time to celebrate the history and accomplishments of girls and women in sports this evening, it is my pleasure to welcome our special guests and ask them to come forward. Courtney Kindig, Maggie Hughes, and Sarah Loy. Would you come forward, please? Congress has proclaimed a national day each year since 1987 when it was first recognized Olympic volleyball player Flo Hyman for her athletic achievements and her commitment to ensure equality for women's sports. We recognize the progress of girls and women in sports and the benefits that sports and fitness activities can bring to the lives of all girls and women. And the achievements we honor of Maggie, Courtney, and Zara as representatives from Lakeside High School, and as they were each named to the all-state volleyball team representing Hot Springs, they will each receive a copy of a special proclamation this evening from the mayor.
Okay. All right. I'll read this to you, and then I will present the proclamation to you. Whereas during the month of February, many local and national women's and girls organizations will be celebrating the 27th Annual National Girls and Women's in Sports Day in Washington, D.C., and in communities across the nation. And whereas this day of recognition is a means of acknowledge and recognize current sports achievements, the positive influence of sports participation, and the continuing struggle for equality and access for women in sports. And whereas girls and women's athletics is one of the most effective avenues available for girls and women to develop self-discipline, initiative, confidence, and leadership skills regardless of background. And whereas the bonds built between girls and women through athletics help to break down the social barriers of racism and prejudice, and skills learned play a key role in the athletics contribution at home, at work, and to society. And whereas 3 local female athletics representing Lakeside High School, Courtney Kindig, Maggie Hughes, and Zara Loy, have been selected to the 2013 Arkansas All-Star Volleyball West team. Now, therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of Hot Springs, the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby, the day of February 6, 2013, declare Girls and Women's in Sports Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in recognition of these 3 young women, and call upon our citizens to recognize the importance of athletics in the development of young women throughout the country.
Wow.
We have some other guests here tonight that are representing, whoops, everything's falling apart. Healthy Arkansas Million Hearts Project. A few months ago, we were approached by Mr. Chad O'Kane, and since then he has left the country. And he brought Michelle Murtha here to take his place. Minnie Lennox and I met with him, and he was really excited about turning our whole city into a healthy city. And he wanted to start with the city of Hot Springs, and we jumped on board. Also, we were trying to work on some other things with the Garland County Cares with the Stop Smoking. Also, and it seemed like everything we were doing was kind of working together. It seemed like every board we were on, every committee, and then Janet McAdams was working with the health department, and then every meeting I go to, we're all the same people. Just, we're all kind of working toward the same goals of trying to make Hot Springs a better place to live and make us live longer in Hot Springs. So I'm going to read this proclamation, and I'm going to ask those of you who are all working on this same initiative, if you'll just come up and kind of stand there while I read this, because there's a lot of whereases in this, and just come up, and then we'll introduce you as I finish this and introduce you to the audience. Whereas heart disease and stroke are the first and fourth leading cause of death in the United States, and whereas heart disease and stroke are among the leading causes of disability in our country, and whereas the Million Hearts Initiative was launched in 2011 to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes over 5 years, and whereas the Million Hearts goal are to empower Americans to make healthy choices to help reduce the number of people needing medications to prevent heart attacks and strokes, and to improve the care of people who do need treatment by emphasizing the ABCs of care: aspirin for people at risk, blood pressure control, cholesterol management, and smoking cessation. And whereas in cooperation with the Million Hearts Initiative, Hot Springs will hold a kickoff event entitled Healthy Hot Springs on February 15th at the Hot Springs Family YMCA. This event is open to the public and will offer free health assessments and information by a panel of health experts. Now, therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the 15th day of February 2013 as Healthy Hot Springs Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and encourage all to recognize the need to join our initiative to become a heart-healthy community. In witness whereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on the 5th day of February in the year of our Lord 2013. Would y'all turn around that way so everybody can?
Well, the camera
Let's give
can
them a
get
big
them.
hand. This is what I'm going to ask you to do, because all of them represent a different part of our city. You start here. Would you go to the microphone and introduce yourself and tell them what it is you do? We'll just go right on down the line, because we are all joining together to represent this, and this is the proclamation to you. So then when it gets down to your turn, just tell me.
Okay, I'm LaJean Burnett with Garland County Cares. I work with tobacco cessation, which means quit smoking, and recognize with the ABCs, the S portion is smoking cessation, or encouraging people to stop smoking to improve their heart health.
Great.
I can go sit down.
Yes, my name is Chibuzo Chinwa, and I'm part of a religious organization, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and also within that, Health Ministries Director. Therefore, I want to promote Better Care, which is an acronym, 10 words, but basically it's all about natural ways to prevent disease. So better, it goes all the way from bright sunshine to your environment, to trust in God, to temperance, to fresh air, clean water, and all those types of things that we can do to maintain our health.
Thank you.
My name is Dean Ehrenheim. I'm the president and CEO of the Hot Springs Family YMCA. and we are for youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. I want to note that we're going to have some special guests, including the mayor, at that event. We'll have Lieutenant Governor Mark Darr. Did I say that right, Darr? Yeah. Lieutenant Governor Mark Darr and Dr. Paul Haverson will also be there. So.
My name is Michelle Murtha, and I work for Arkansas Foundation for Medical Care. And I took Chad's place, and he didn't leave the country. He just moved to a different department. But it feels like it. Chad was wonderful. But anyway, we have worked with all these wonderful people in the city of Hot Springs, which makes me want to live here. Absolutely. And from the mayor to the library to Dean to Arkansas Department of Health, and I'm going to leave people out, it has been a pleasure to work with your city. And I do want you to know that you are the first city in the United States to have a kickoff for Million Hearts, which is a CDC initiative to reduce 1 million heart attacks over a 5-year period. And y'all, everyone here has opened their arms, the whole city, to bring us in. We have the school, the Lakeside School is the East Lab has built our healthyhotsprings.org if you want to get on there. So we've included the children along with the adults, and please come and show up on the 15th and see what a great job your whole city has done. Thank you.
My name is Shelley Fetter, and I'm a quality specialist with the Arkansas Foundation for Medical Care. I am part of the team with Michelle and Jonathan, and this initiative is really special to me because I live here in Hot Springs. I grew up here, and so I'm really proud to be part of this. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Janet McAdams, and I'm the administrator of the Garland County Health Unit, and I'm here representing Project Hope, which is your hometown health coalition, and we meet on the first Thursday. We've moved our meeting site to the Office of Emergency Management, which is the old National Guard building, and we meet at 11:30 this Thursday, and would welcome anyone to come and join us. And we work on prevention of all types and just work on improving the health of our community. So, thank you.
Okay, my name is Nalisala Allen. I'm a park ranger for Hot Springs National Park. I'm here to represent our park, and we're very happy to be partnered with not only Healthy Hot Springs, but the Million Hearts Association. We really want to try and get more people out and get them healthy. So.
I'm Minnie Lennox, Human Resources Director for the City of Hot Springs, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be a part of the Million Hearts, Healthy Hot Springs. I challenge each and every one of you here tonight in the viewing audience to come out on February the 15th, sign up for the Million Healthy Hearts, and let's make Hot Springs something on the map, being #1, the first city in the nation to have a kickoff for Healthy Hot Springs, the Million Hearts. So I encourage everyone to come out and let's join hands together and make this a better community, one that people will live long lives in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everybody for coming. Appreciate all of you, and there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of meetings, and we appreciate all that you've done so far and are going to do. This will be a continuation thing that will go on for like over a year. They have a calendar. Okay, and then we have any other visitors that I didn't have on here? Do you have anybody else? Guests? All of you are our guests. We greet you and welcome you, and we are so excited that you are here. We will now hear our city manager's report.
Yeah, thank you. Tonight we have an opportunity to honor one of our high schools, specifically Hot Springs High School, their Environmental and Spatial Technologies Lab program called EAST. They recently learned that the school had advanced to the final round as a finalist in Samsung's Solve for Tomorrow competition, which called for student-created videos that use today's technology to solve tomorrow's problems. Out of 1,600 competing East programs nationwide, Hot Springs High School is now in the top 15, which is outstanding. Now, this is where you can help. Okay, and they're in the top 15 now. As a finalist, the East program will be awarded $40,000 in Samsung and Adobe technology products, and is also eligible for one of 5 $110,000 technology awards, including the People's Choice Award. So just think like American Idol. If you want to vote for this school, you need to go to www.samsung.com/solve for tomorrow and vote for Hot Springs. You have until March 4th to do so. And finally, and I think this is really a good thing too, Ron Harrison, owner of American LIDAR, LIDAR, a Hot Springs owned laser imaging company, heard of the East students' work with a 3D printer that they had built themselves. Harrison proposed a partnership involving his super high resolution 3D scanner. He worked with our own Max Sestelli. Where is Max? Right there. And Max arranged for this group to go to our tunnel up on Whittington and go in there and use this technology to collect images and try to show what we're doing to apply repairs and improvements as part of our overall storm drainage master plan. So I guess in conclusion, 15 out of 1,600 is pretty good. And remember to vote one more time.
You can vote every day, actually.
Yeah, just pretend like it's American Idol or your favorite movie star or what have you. It's www.samsung.com/solve for tomorrow.
Somebody breaking in?
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. Oh, no updates on anything? We're going forward, right? Everything's fixed.
Well, I was going to mention that since we have a TV audience, I had a chance to go up to Rogers, last night actually, and this morning to attend the International Council of Shopping Centers. They call it their Arkansas, Oklahoma deal-making conference. And heard a lot about our own Brian Gerke, who's big in that organization. But the one thing that I really came out of that with was a lot of retailers are looking at Hot Springs. This is kind of a difficult town to quantify because we have so many out-of-town visitors who come here. And so the traditional quantitative model of traffic counts, socioeconomic profiles doesn't really work here. And so I'll be working with Cabe Rockwell, with the Chamber, or with Metro Partnership and you, in developing a more focused marketing plan to attract those retailers. I mean, we don't have a property tax here in Hot Springs for the city, so retail is our bread and butter, and we have to continually be out there looking for new as well as taking care of our existing retail. So anyway, kind of an update on that.
Okay.
Who's in charge, Mayor? Wonderful. Good report.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, do we have any announcements of upcoming events by the board members? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to invite everyone to the Forest Lakes Clubhouse Thursday afternoon. That's this Thursday, the 7th at 4:30 p.m. Dr. Sally Carter, president of the National Park Community College, will be making a presentation regarding the upcoming millage request they have. So please attend and be an informed voter. Thank you.
Have anything?
Oh, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Anybody else?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have three short announcements. Congressman Tom Cotton will be hosting All Service Academy information session on March 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. The location will be the library at the Lake Hamilton High School. So March 26th. So if you're currently a junior or even a sophomore or a freshman and thinking that Service Academy might be your choice for post-high school education, all the service academies will be represented there. Many times you think of the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, and the United States Military Academy at West Point, but we'll have the Coast Guard, Merchant Marine, and ROTC programs will be represented as well. So it'll be one-stop shopping to get some information on the various service academies that offer post-high school education. Again, for those who are juniors, currently juniors, who might think the service, currently juniors who are considering us the Naval Academy, they'll be hosting a summer seminar this summer. Over about 2,200 kids are invited to this summer seminar, and they're allowed to walk in the shoes of a midshipman to see if that setting is right for them, and it's an excellent opportunity to do so. You'll be being shown the campus, the labs, kind of go through the routine of a midshipman, and it gives you an idea to look at the academy, and the academy to look at the prospective student. For the younger kids, the academy has some of the world's best. The Naval Academy has some of the world's best labs. It is a top engineering school, so they promote science, technology, engineering, and math camps to the younger kids who are currently sophomores, freshmen, 8th grade and 7th graders. They have a summer camp for them as well to kind of increase their appetite for those engineering programs, science, technology, engineering, math. The cost of the STEM program is $200, and the cost for the summer seminar for those students who are currently juniors is $350. So give it some thought. A lot of times people will say, well, putting my child on a plane in Little Rock and going to the East Coast is kind of a frightening thing, especially for somebody who's an 8th grader. There'll be a midshipman at Baltimore International Airport that will have their name and be waiting for them, so they won't be off on the loose on the East Coast, but they'll be shuttled by a Naval Academy bus right to the academy. But it is a wonderful event. Both of those programs are week-long events and well worth it. So go to usna.edu and you can apply online. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, the next item of business is the consideration of the consent agenda, and items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item of business without discussion. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
Consent agenda is adopted. Okay. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R1316. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R1316, a resolution acknowledging receipt of attached report of annual utility rate review by economist.com. That concludes the reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion, a second to adopt, and have discussion, if any.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion. Would you please come? Or the staff person to, do we have it? Is he going to?
I'd like to. I think Bill, you going to do this or want me to?
Thank you, Mayor Board. Bill Burrow, Deputy City Manager. I'd like to introduce to you Dan Jackson. He is our rate analyst that is with economist.com. He's here to share a report regarding our water and wastewater rates. Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Dan Jackson. I'm the Managing Director of economist.com. We have had the privilege of being the city's water and wastewater rate consultant for the last decade. I am here to give you my annual report and review of the city's water and wastewater utility fund and its long-term water and wastewater rate plan. If you will recall, We have done a number of rate studies for the city over the last decade. Our last rate study was completed in 2009. That rate study recommended that the city implement a series of annual rate adjustments that would enable the city to obtain enough revenue to meet all of its water and wastewater related operating expenses and capital obligations. It was not an easy thing for the city to do, to adopt this long-term rate plan, because after all, nobody ever wants to pay more for any service at any time for any reason. However, there were a series of compelling reasons why the city needed to do this long-term rate plan. One of the conditions of adopting the rate plan that the Board of Directors implemented was that on an annual basis you would review the rate plan to ensure that it was functioning in accordance with what the expectations were. In 2009, we made a series of predictions about what was going to happen over the next 5 years. Obviously, we can't tell the future with perfect accuracy, and to the extent that what actually happened differed from what was projected in the study, we were to inform the board whether or not any adjustments would be needed in the long-term rate plan. So that is the purpose of my presentation tonight. I also want to talk a little bit about your rates in general and basically what's going on in the industry, because I think it is very important for ratepayers to keep this in mind when we talk about a subject as sensitive as water and wastewater rates. In my almost 30-year career as a water and wastewater rate consultant, I've done a lot of these presentations. And one of the questions that I'm asked almost universally at every presentation is, why? Why are water and wastewater rates going up? I mean, isn't water service the same as it has been my entire life? I mean, water doesn't taste any differently today than it did 30 years ago, so why should it cost any more? And I think that's a fair question. And I think the answer to that question really lies in an examination of what's going on in the water and wastewater industry here in the 21st century. Water is a different service today than it was many years ago. For example, the average utility across the United States is raising its rates 5 to 6% every year, and that's a trend that is expected to continue into the future. The American Water Works Association estimates that the cost of water and sewer service is going to triple in the next 15 years. Now, there are a lot of reasons why that's happening. One reason is just simply due to inflation. You try to run your water and sewer operation like a business. You want the revenues that you get from charging for water and sewer service to cover all the costs. You don't want any taxpayer money to go into funding or underwriting the cost of your water and sewer service. So, like in any business, when the costs go up, you've got no choice but to pass those costs through to your ratepayers. Now look at what are some of the critical components of a water and sewer service. Well, you've got chemicals, electricity, insurance, workers' compensation, gasoline. All of those are costs that are going up that even greater than the rate of inflation. So that is putting pressure on water and sewer costs and forcing rates up. Another reason is that the cost of repairing a water and sewer system is significantly greater than it was even a few years ago. You know, it costs you millions and millions of dollars to build a water and sewer system that provides service to the 50,000 plus residents of the Hot Springs area. It costs a lot of money to run that, and you know what? Those systems, like anything else, wear out over time. Lines have to be replaced, treatment plants have to be overhauled, pumps have to be replaced, and all of that costs money. Thanks to the federal government, there's a lot more regulations now in place than there were 20 years ago. Those regulations have to be paid for, and it is water and sewer rates that pay for all of them. In conclusion, there are a lot of reasons why this precious and diminishing natural resource is becoming more expensive. Many of these reasons are simply beyond the control of a city or a utility to really do anything about it. So the best thing that you can hope for in the future is to manage these costs in a way that minimizes the overall impact on the ratepayer. Okay, what are your rates? What do you charge for water and sewer service? Well, if you're a typical residential customer here in the city of Hot Springs and you have a water connection, you pay a minimum charge of $4.22 for the first 1,000 gallons of service. For every 1,000 gallons of service you buy beyond that, you pay an additional rate for. If you use between 1,000 and 5,000 gallons, you pay $2.13 per 1,000 gallons. Now, the average family here in the city of Hot Springs uses between 4,000 and 5,000 gallons a month. So if you use over 5,000 gallons, you're above the average. And so the city has put into place a rate structure known as an inverted block or a conservation rate. The idea is to ensure that people who use up to the average amount of usage pay the lowest rate for that service. But when they get above the average, they're starting to get into usage of water that we consider to be discretionary, lawn watering, car washing, that kind of thing. You still have the availability of water for that, but you just pay a little bit more for it. And the idea is to encourage people to use water wisely and to conserve as much as possible. For example, if you use between 5,000 and 10,000 gallons, you pay $2.38 a 1,000 gallons. If you use between 10 and 20, you pay $2.63, and above 20,000 gallons, you pay $2.88. Rate structures like this have been remarkably successful in getting people to minimize their water usage. It has been very successful here in the city of Hot Springs. On the wastewater rate, you pay a debt service charge of $15.67 a month and a volume charge of $3.65 per 1,000 gallons. Now, it's a lot of numbers, but the question a lot of people have is, how do my rates compare to the rest of the state of Arkansas? Well, the state recently released a rate survey of all the utilities in the state of Arkansas. And the findings of that survey were very interesting. It shows that rates in the city of Hot Springs are about 20% below the state average. If you're a user of 5,000 gallons, you pay $37.61 for 5,000 gallons of water and sewer service. Across the state of Arkansas, the median is $47.46. So you're about $10 below the state average, which is about 20 to 25% below the state average. I think your rates are very, very competitive here. Furthermore, when you compare yourselves to some of your neighbors, on the water side, you've got among the lowest rates in the state. If you look at this chart here, this chart compares the monthly charges for 5,000 gallons of water service with cities such as Rogers, Springdale, Russellville, Benton, Jacksonville, Bentonville. As you can see, you're below almost all the other cities in the sample. You have remarkably low water rates, and as a matter of fact, you haven't even changed your water rates in a number of years. In the last couple of years, your only increases have been on the wastewater side. Your wastewater rates are a little above the average. This chart shows the charge for 5,000 gallons of wastewater service. It's because you have been very proactive in making many of the repairs that you have needed to make in the wastewater system. So while your costs have been a little bit higher, when you balance that with the water side, your rates are significantly below the state average. And I think you should be commended for that, because you've made a lot of progress in the last several years in shoring up the financial condition of your water and sewer fund. You have a very healthy water and sewer fund right now, and you've still been able to do that at rates that are significantly below the state average. This chart right here is a couple of background charts on your system here. As you can see, it shows that your average residential customer uses between 4,000 and 5,000 gallons of water a month. This is actually significantly below what ratepayers in a lot of other states use. In my home state of Texas, the average water user uses about 11,000 gallons of water a month. And that's why we're begging Oklahoma for more water, because we're running out of it. You, here in Arkansas, particularly in Hot Springs, are much more water-wise. Your water usage is far below what many other states are in the United States. And again, that's another thing I think you should be commended for. Okay. In the course of our 2012 review, we made several findings that I think are notable and that I wanted to share with you tonight. When we did this study in 2009, the economy was just falling into the Great Recession. At the time of the study, we projected that growth would be relatively modest over the next 5 to 10 years. Well, in 2009, 2010, and 2011, growth was very, very low here in the city of Hot Springs. But in 2012, both your water accounts and your consumption spiked up. That's a very encouraging sign. It shows that you're seeing some life in the economy here in the city. That's good not only from a water and wastewater perspective, but it's good from a general economic perspective too. So I think that we're seeing some very encouraging signs of economic recovery here in the city. You had a relatively dry summer last year. Dry summer meant people used a little bit more water on the average, and so as a result, you recovered more revenues than you typically would in a year like this. At the same time, your expenses were below what we projected them to be. So your revenues were higher than expected, and your expenses were lower than expected. As a result, that's a very good thing. It shows, once again, that your water and sewer fund is very, very healthy. Now, as a result of that, you actually ended up with a net surplus in your water and sewer fund. So you did what a wise utility does when you have a surplus fund. You use it to retire some of your debt, some of the outstanding debt that you had, and that is going to provide a long-term benefit to your ratepayers. You know, forecasting is always an imperfect science because, again, as I said before, nobody can really predict the future with perfect accuracy. So there are going to be some years where, you know, you're a little low and some years where you're a little high. Last year was a year where you were a little high. And so you took those excess revenues and you basically invested it in your system, which benefits you and your ratepayers in the future and is going to mean your rate increases in the future are not going to be as high as they otherwise would have been. I think that, once again, this is a very good sign of good financial management. And if my praise sounds a little bit effusive tonight, believe me, I do a lot of these presentations for cities and utilities whose water funds are not in anywhere near as good a shape. So it's a pleasure, in a sense, to be able to make remarks like this, because most of the time, people like me aren't hired unless the fund is in real bad shape and they need somebody to help pull it out of bad shape. So the fact that you're in good shape, I think, is very, very beneficial. This is your growth. I want to, once again, to kind of emphasize the fact that 2012 was a very encouraging year for the city. As you can see, you only grew by about 100 to 200 accounts in 2009 through 2011, but you spiked up by 400 in 2012. So there is such a thing as a recovery, and we're experiencing it now. This is the revised projection of future accounts. Now remember, when you do a long-term forecast, you're not just looking at what's going to happen today, but you have to take into consideration what you think is going to happen tomorrow. We're projecting that you're going to grow by about 200 accounts per year for the next couple of years, and then as the economy continues to recover, you're going to grow by about 300 accounts a year after that. That means your 34,492 accounts are projected to increase to about 37,000 by 2022. Whoops. This chart right here, I apologize for these numbers being a little bit low, but these numbers show that your revenues in your water utility and your wastewater utility are both expected to cover their costs in 2012. In 2013, I mean. This is a very significant development for the city because for the last several years, the city has wrestled with the issue of the water rates basically carrying the wastewater rates. You've had a situation in the past where your water revenues have been greater than your costs and your wastewater revenues have been a little less than your costs. So your water rates have been, to a minor extent, subsidizing your wastewater rates. One of the goals of the 2009 plan was to eliminate that and to ensure that what you pay for wastewater service covers your cost of wastewater service and what you pay for water service covers your cost of water service. I am pleased to announce that as of this year, that is now the case. The rate plan is working, and now your water fund is self-sufficient, and so is your wastewater fund. Both of them are now self-sufficient. Okay, there's a couple more charts here. What do we think is going to continue to happen in the future? Well, one thing that we have to recognize is that costs are going to continue to go up. You've got no control over the rate of inflation. The cost of everything goes up by 3% a year. So as a result, we have to understand that water and wastewater rate adjustments are basically going to be a fact of life. And also when you consider the fact that, as I said before, so many elements of water and sewer service are increasing at rates even higher than inflation, we have to take that into consideration in a long-term financial plan as well. The city is doing its best, I think, in my personal opinion, to try to minimize this impact. For example, you're not looking at adding significant new personnel. I think you've minimized your expense increases in those areas where you have control over it. And so the cost increases are not due to adding additional staff or other things like that. It's just due to factors that are mostly beyond your control. Finally, another factor is that this long-term plan assumes that you are going to continue to have capital improvements that are going to be needed. Like any other asset, you have to continue to invest in your system to ensure that it continues to operate at a high level. It's kind of like, those of us who own a house. You own a house, there are going to be years where you got to replace the roof or you got to replace the water heater or things like that. I mean, these things happen, and a properly constructed financial plan has to take that into consideration as well. This financial plan assumes that you are going to do about $20 million in wastewater improvements and about $10 million in water improvements. And as you can see, what that means is that your costs are expected to increase incrementally every year over the next 10 years. This chart right here is a bar chart that shows what your expected cost of providing services in the current year and what it is expected to be in 2022. As you can see, slowly but surely, your costs are inevitably going to continue to increase in the future. That's why we recommended a rate plan in 2009 that called for scheduled rate adjustments in each of the next 5 years. We have examined the rate plan that the city adopted in 2009, and we have come to the following conclusions. Due to the fact that your revenues are higher than expected and your expenses are lower than expected, we believe the rate plan is going to continue to be adequate in 2013 and beyond. Last year when we stood before you, I told you that I thought it was entirely possible that in 2013 and beyond you would need rate adjustments higher than what was expected in the plan because you still weren't growing and your revenues had not been increasing. Thanks to the good performance in 2012 and the expected good performance in 2013, that no longer is the case. While you are still needed a rate adjustment this year, it is not going to have to be any higher than what is projected in the plan. Furthermore, the city's ordinance calls for a 3% adjustment in 2014 and a 3% adjustment in 2015. We believe that those are still going to be necessary, that you're going to have to do that in order to maintain financial health. We also want to note that this rate plan covers all projected expenses except that of any potential new water treatment plant. The city for the last several years has been examining alternatives with regards to its water treatment capability. Those alternatives have not yet been finalized, and so it really isn't proper to put that into a rate plan at this point. To the extent that a water treatment plan requires significant new capital expenditures, we'll have to come back before you and revise the rate plan accordingly. Under any circumstance, I don't see any adjustments to the plan this year or next year, but I do think that that is something you're going to have to keep in mind. This right here is your rate plan. You haven't had to do a water rate adjustment for the last 3 years, but unfortunately, effective January of 2013, the rate plan called for a modest rate adjustment on the water side, bringing your monthly charge up from $4.22 to $4.43, with about a 10-cent increase in each of the rate blocks. The wastewater rate plan called for an increase in the base plan rate from $12.02 to $12.50, and the volume charge from $3.65 to $3.80. And as you can see, there are 3% annual adjustments in each year after that. What does that mean in terms of what your average ratepayer pays? If you are a 5,000-gallon user in the city of Hot Springs, it means your bill will go up by about $1.66 a month in 2013. Right now, before the January 2013 rate adjustment, your average bill was $37.61. Under the rate adjustment that just took effect, that will go up to $39.27, an increase of $1.66, with about $1 a month each year after that. If you're a 10,000-gallon user, your average bill would go up by about $2.92 a month under the current rate plan, with about $2 a month increases each year after that. I estimate that about 70 to 75% of the monthly bills issued by the city of Hot Springs are 10,000 gallons or less. So the vast majority of ratepayers under this plan will see an increase of about $1 to $2 a month. Obviously, if you're a higher volume sprinkler user or a commercial user and you use more water, your bill would increase a little bit more under that plan as well. But this is the plan in effect, and we recommend no changes in it at this time. couple of final notes I want to make as far as my rate plan is concerned. Obviously, this is, like anything else, based on a series of assumptions, and I think that over the next year we need to continue to monitor it to make sure that the plan continues to reach the goals that you have set. You have made some very difficult decisions over the last several years, but those decisions have paid off in the sense that you have the financial health of your water and sewer utility is sound, the quality of service is high, and you have the ability to withstand any significant unexpected occurrences. Many utilities run their operations on a shoestring budget, basically hoping against hope that nothing bad happens because they don't have the money to pay for it if it does. You have a much sounder and much stronger financial condition, and so the decisions that you made in the past have paid off in that form under this utility. One final thing I do want to mention, and that is that any rate plan is going to be dependent on the policy decisions that you as a board and you as a city make. This plan assumes that you're going to spend about $20 million in wastewater improvements over the next 5 to 10 years. If you had to spend more than that, your rate plan would have to be adjusted accordingly. For example, if you spent $30 million, you'd have to pay a little bit more in your rates, and if you spent $40 million, you'd have to pay a little bit more in addition to that. What kind of impact would that be? Again, I apologize for there being so many numbers here. But the bottom line is this. If you were, say, for example, to issue $30 million in wastewater debt instead of $20 million, the impact across the board would be about $1 a month per ratepayer. If you issued $40 million in wastewater debt instead of $20 million, the impact for most ratepayers would be about $2 a month. So, obviously, it's never a good thing to ask people to pay more, but when you look at the need for making future improvements, you have to balance that need with what you're willing to spend. It's kind of, again, it's like being in a household. You know, how much do you want to spend on improvements versus how much money do you have to make that expenditure? The bottom line is that you have a sound water and wastewater utility right now. I'd like to commend you for the decisions that you made in the past. I appreciate the opportunity to be before you tonight and to talk to you and brief you on this plan, and I look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you have at this time.
Have any questions, directors? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was on page 10 where it displayed the 401 new accounts. Did the data show that between residential and commercial?
Yes. Yes, we have that data, and we've looked at it by every particular customer class. I can't quite recall off the top of my head what the breakdown was. It is overwhelmingly residential.
Was it?
Most of the 400 accounts were residential, but if I recall correctly, you did see some good commercial growth in 2012 as well.
And this didn't break it down between inside the city
That's
limits
correct.
and outside the city. Do you
That's
remember
correct.
what that was?
Again, I just can't remember off the top of my head. You had some growth outside the city and you had some growth inside the city, and I just don't recall what the breakdown was.
Questions? Any other questions? Discussion? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Okay, hearing no other discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Calling the roll?
Yes, ma'am.
Here.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. The resolution is adopted. We were acknowledging the receipt of the report. I'm sorry. We should, it's been a long time. We should have restated what we were doing.
Oh, goodness.
The next item of business is to consider resolution number R1317. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R1317, a resolution awarding a contract to Kraus Construction Company, LLC, for the Fairwood Pump Station project. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Do we have a staff person for that one?
Gary Carnahan, city engineer, will address this.
Thank you, Gary Carnahan, City Engineer. And sorry, I was talking to Dan. This is the one about Kraus Construction, correct? Forgive me. Dan had to run to the airport, so I was wishing him well on his trip to Little Rock just now. He mentioned wastewater funding and so on, and that's what I'm here to talk about tonight, too. Because of our consent administrative order, as you know, our wastewater sewer main that runs from the west side of town to the east side of town was overloaded. Did not have the capacity we needed. The strategy is to build a parallel line from west 270 West, Albert Pike West, out by Bradford Marine, Thornton Ferry Road, all the way to the east side of town to the wastewater plant, and then another parallel main from Stokes down on McLeod and Lakeshore out that way. So we've spent over $3 million building a new parallel force main from Bradford Marine to the railroad trestle, about halfway across town. And so now it's time to build the pump station so that we can put the wastewater into that new pipeline and relieve the stress on the old sewer main. That pump station is $2,775,000. It's a really large pump station. We bid that out, had competitive bidding. The low bid was both Kraus Construction Company, and so we'd like to ask you to vote to let us award that contract and get that work started.
Okay. We didn't have anybody signed up for that, did we? Okay. We have
I
any
do
questions?
have a question.
Yes.
Gary,
Yes, sir.
when that you say it runs parallel, does that mean if one of them is down, can it support the volume from the other temporarily? Are you running them in tandem?
Yes, they will all that. That's true. Yes, we could do that. I mean, obviously, right now, the one main is carrying all the load.
Right. Okay.
So if one of them happened to have a problem, we could shift it to the other one.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions? Any discussion? Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Carnahan. Hearing no more discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
Okay. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01303. First, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second? Okay. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 013-3, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding for the purchase of certain real property related to the Higdon Ferry Widening Project Phase 3, Printers Place to Crawford Avenue, Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department Job 061214, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Who has that one? Mr. Carnahan.
Thank you. We're excited because we have these three more properties where the property owners have agreed to accept the offer from the Highway Department's appraiser and close. We believe here we're going to wrap this all up hopefully within 30 days and have all these right-of-ways put together. So I hope you'll approve. These are the amounts approved by the Highway Department, so we hope you'll approve letting us close on these real estate transactions.
Okay. Do we have anybody signed up for any of those?
No.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions for Mr. Carnahan? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Aye.
Carney.
Okay, thank you. It's adopted. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01304. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 013-4, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding for the purchase of certain real property related to the Hot Springs Creek Greenway project and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Jean Wallace, Hot Springs Parks and Recreation Director. Before you tonight to ask you to approve the purchase of approximately 2.2 acres of land that is bounded roughly by TV Hill Road, Hot Springs Creek, and the Dr. Martin Luther King Expressway for fair market value. The land will be used for trail construction of the Hot Springs Creek Greenway Trail in the future, and this is north of the expressway. Hot Springs Friends of the Parks has been in contact with this property owner since 2004 and originally, of course, asked for a donation of the property, but the property owners really wanted to sell the property instead. So Friends of the Parks hired an appraiser for a fair market value. Appraisal was done, and the city, under a letterhead with Friends of the Parks, sent an offer and acceptance to the property owners at the end of last year. The property owner did accept the offer, and so before you tonight is the approval of this purchase of property for future development of the Hot Springs Creek Greenway Trail.
Okay. No one signed up for them? No. Okay. Do we have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Oh, you do. You have a question.
Yes, I just wanted your clarification, because it is understanding that the funds that are already set aside for this purchase that came about from prior year's sales that were dedicated to the Master Trail Plan.
That is correct. I believe it was 2005 when the funds were dedicated to the purpose, but only became available in 2012 for the acquisition. But yes, ma'am, they were budgeted for this purpose.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes.
Thank you.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01305. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read by title?
Ordinance 013-5, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding for the procurement of roof repairs at the Central Fire Station, awarding a contract to Industrial Roofing and Construction, LLC, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion second to adopt.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And discussion. Chief.
Good evening, directors. I'm Ed Davis. I'm your fire chief. The saga of the roof repair starts in August of last year when the microburst occurred, affecting the Broadway and Malvern Avenue corridors. We had some high winds that came through, and the evidence of that is still here as long as you travel around the road. At the fire station, our damage occurred when a communications tower fell on the roof and punctured the metal roofing along an internal gutter system. Those punctures caused a cascade of water to come into the interior Central Fire Station, affecting the foyer area and doing quite a bit of damage to it. We had a good response, especially from finance, Doretha Yates and also Mr. Watkins were of great help assisting us in getting the emergency funds to stabilize the building. During the process of this, we patched the roof very temporarily, thinking that there would be a quick resolution of the problem. Got a roofer in here, looked at it. Municipal League worked with us really well on the insurance, got the metal ordered, and then they went to fit it to the roof, and the metal does not match. The metal that is on that roof was made in India in the mid-90s. That type of roofing is no longer made. There's some that look similar to it, but it will not match up with it. And anytime you're dealing with a metal roof, each one of those ridges and bends has to fit perfectly. This does not. It is certainly subpar trying to replace those damaged panels with the new ones. So, and as an alternative to this, and this is going to be significantly more costly to the Municipal League, they said that we could put the old panels back in place and that they would pay for a synthetic covering. It's a thermoplastic fabric that would be fixed to the entire roof. And this is something that I would say to you is something we should do. It will allow the roof to be fixed relatively quickly. It comes with a 10-year warranty, and it will cost the City of Hot Springs $5,000 for a $128,000 roof.
Can we get two?
I wish.
Can we get one here?
So I'm recommending to you that we dispense with competitive bidding for the purposes of putting this roof on the building, simply for the fact that the temporary patch is not going to hold very much longer. We do have to act on this, and we are getting a better product than we otherwise would have.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Chief Davis? Any questions, concerns? Okay. Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes.
Thank
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
Ordinance adopted. Okay, the next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01306. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 013-6, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding for certain services related to the operation and maintenance of a flood warning information system through joint funding contract with United States Department of Interior, U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If now entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Max?
Thank you. And first of all, thank you, Mayor and Mr. Watkins, for acknowledging and talking about the Hot Springs High program. That's really cool. So really, a reason I love this city and love my job is because we can form those kind of partnerships. So it's very exciting. But tonight, Stormwater Division is seeking approval to waive competitive bidding for services related to the operation and maintenance of the city's downtown flood warning system. This system was installed and is maintained solely by the U.S. Geological Survey through a joint funding agreement which we established in 2008. We can justify waiving this competitive bidding simply because there's no other system out there this advanced while requiring no maintenance or upgrades by the city. All of that is handled strictly by USGS. The system was installed in 2008 to act as an alert for city officials, mainly fire officials, of possible or imminent flood threats in the downtown area. The system consists of 4 units, which include stage, which is the height of the water, discharge rate, and rain gauges, and 2 units, which are rain gauges only, up in Music Mountain and West Mountain. The gauges will automatically call out to certain city officials when we have had 2 inches of rain within 1 hour, or the height of the water in the creek reaches the halfway point. Once they are alerted, they can monitor the creek either by calling in via phone to the system or online. And I will mention that any citizen in town can view that same information online by going to the link on our stormwater page at cityhs.net, and you'll see a USGS link there, and you'll see the same data that the fire or other city officials are watching. The information that is collected is also relayed via satellite to the National Weather Service and the USGS office as a backup data collection center. Now, as I mentioned, the city pretty much has no worries about the functionality of this equipment. USGS, as a matter of fact, is currently upgrading all the hardware and software in the system, which is going to give us more redundancy for backup data and a greater frequency of data updates. The old system only updated every 5 minutes. The new one will update every minute. They're also, which is the coolest part, installing a real-time video camera at the Whittington entrance to the tunnel, which has historically been our major flooding problem area. The fire department will have the camera and be able to remote control this thing. It has a motorized deal on it. They can zoom in, they can pan left or right or up or down and see exactly what's going on in real time with that system. And all of this they're doing at no additional cost to the city. This is just with our basic rate that we pay. Anytime new technology comes in, they upgrade it automatically. Besides giving us the forewarning of possible flooding, the historical data that we're collecting can be used in the future. Federal funds, I'm sure, will have to be involved with this, but we hope to one day design a retention basin up in the West Mountain area that will capture flooding waters and hold that back and maybe actually save us and mitigate some of the flooding that happens downtown. The contract for 2013 is $56,000, which is the same amount as last year, so no increase there, and we did budget it for this year. Take any questions.
Do we have any questions?
How are people warned? What is the system? You say through software? Is it through text, through phone, through?
So you might be familiar with the Code Red system, and that's something that's automatic that we can utilize for that purpose. But really, the flood warning system is only going to alert the fire department, and at that point, they take the initiative to either launch a Code Red call or send crews downtown to block roads, or run their sirens. It's really the fire department's call on how they handle those different flooding.
That would certainly go to all the businesses and
yes, if they decided to send a Code Red call, and they can send it to whoever they want with the push of one button. That's right.
It's good.
It's a neat service. Thank you.
Chief Davis, did you have a comment? Just backing him up.
Yes. Other than just to say that it's much better than what we had in the past, the only thing that I would say is that it doesn't update as fast as I would like. They are about to take care of that problem for us. But it is the best alternative. USGS does an outstanding job at maintaining the equipment. They're very trustworthy people. They will come out in the middle of the night if we have a problem during a storm. I have seen them many times when we've been on flood watch out working on those devices. And so, the one thing the fire department wants to do is to limit the impact a flood downtown or any other part of the city might have upon our citizenry. Protecting those lives is important. Also, to be able to tell the merchants that ahead of time that, hey, you're going to have a flood, they can take some proactive measures, maybe putting sandbags out, those kind of things to help protect their property. So this is just a great tool that we have, and we did not have to build the system ourselves like the previous one. The U.S. government came in and built it for us. So I would say, please support this. It is something that is vital for the future of downtown.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. Motion is carried and ordinance is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
guys.
want to apologize to two different people, Mr. Stokes and Mr. Freeman. You guys got skipped over because you're on the consent agenda and you're waiting here with those nice limousines out in the parking lot thinking we're going to talk about them. So since you've waited this long, you might as well give us all a ride. I don't know. That was on the consent agenda, and since we didn't explain that really well to you, it's already been taken care of. You've been approved. You're all to go. Everything's fine. And it was at the first part, so we didn't even discuss it. It was all approved. So you're good to go, and thanks. And we'll call you when we get married. Thank you. I'm sorry you had to sit through all that. It just hit me that you're still here. Well, thank you. Now you know what we do. Oh, wow.
Nothing like a ringing endorsement.
Yeah. Wow, that was a long wait. Okay. I thought, why are they still here? Okay, the next item of business is ordinance number 01307. That's the one we're on, right?
It is.
First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 013-7, an ordinance awarding a contract to Software House International and waiving requirements of competitive bidding for Exchange server upgrade licensing, certifying emergency actions by the city manager, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes. That concludes the reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to
So
adopt?
moved.
Is there a second? Okay. And discussion.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jeff Winter, the Information Systems Director for the City of Hot Springs. Really straightforward issue. Our mail server runs this software, and we had planned to budget this for this year anyway, but the reason is before you is twofold. One, that's over $20,000, so obviously needs your approval. But we're asking the approval after the fact because unfortunately the mail server failed before we were able to upgrade it, even though it was budgeted. So fairly straightforward issue. Any questions?
Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes.
Thank
Clark.
you.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
Motion is adopted. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01308. First, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read by title?
Ordinance 013-8, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5877, renaming the geographical area formerly known as the Central Business Improvement District Number 2 as the Downtown Business District and for other purposes. That concludes the reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion, a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Was that you? Who's going to do that one?
Lance, you may handle that.
Sure.
Last spring, by action of the board, pursuant to petition brought by the property owners in the area formerly known as the Central Business Improvement District Number 2, there was a dissolution of that district. And pursuant to ordinance number 5877, it clarified the effect of certain regulations related to that area and stated the following: all references in such ordinances, resolutions, or the Hot Springs Code of Ordinances to the Central Business Improvement District Number 2 shall hereinafter mean that geographical area formerly known as the Central Business Improvement District Number 2. As you can see, that's kind of a mouthful and a little confusing when we're talking about other CBIDs in the city. So as a housekeeping matter, we would ask the board to amend Ordinance 5877, and hereinafter we will refer to that area as the Downtown Business District.
That's easy.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01309. First, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read by title?
Ordinance 013-9, an ordinance revising the 2013 budget by appropriating funds for certain prior year expenditures and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And Doretha.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Directors. I'm before you tonight bringing a routine housekeeping matter that we bring to you annually. At the end of our fiscal year, which is December 31st every year, our budget expires. However, there are a number of expenditures that we have committed to that we have not yet received the goods or have not yet actually issued the purchase order, but are part of the 2012 budget. In order to reappropriate those items, I bring them to you and ask you to reappropriate that money to the 2013 budget. We have a total of $7.9 million, and in keeping with the what our rate analyst was talking about of all our improvements in our utility system, the majority of that $7.9 million is for improvements to our utility system. About $5.5 million of it represents improvements to our wastewater system, and they will be paid for with wastewater bond monies. About $1.6 million is improvements to our water system. When I brought it to you earlier in the agenda meeting, there was one additional contract that had not come through yet, and that was added to it. If you notice, that number is a little bit higher than it originally was. But by far, the majority of these items are improvements to our utility system, and what we're asking you tonight is to approve all of them and allow us to carry them over for expenditure in 2013 and make them a part of our 2013 budget.
Okay, do we have any questions on those? No questions? Okay, hearing none. That was easy. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. Okay, it's passed. That concludes the business section of tonight's meeting, and now we have the Board of Directors' comments. Do we have any comments?
I have, excuse
Go ahead.
me.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Her hand was up before my mouth.
Hey,
opened.
you've been gone a long time. You've been gone a long time. We'll let you make up for
Thank
lost time.
you. I've got an announcement, and I have to read it because I can't remember all this stuff.
Okay.
On February 23rd, there will be a program at the Convention Center to benefit Webb Community Center. 2 honorees, Joyce Lillerton Craft and Elaine Jones.
Oh.
Music will be by Steve Lake, who is my pastor, and the Eureka Baptist Choir. Being this is Black History Month, we will have a celebration. No food, only money. Mr. William Bill Watkins is the chairman now of the center, and he's doing a great job, but we still need money. So this is going to be a fundraiser, and everyone is invited, and if not, I'll send you an invitation. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I got invited already.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
No surprise there.
Okay. All right, is that it? Yeah,
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank Mr. Carnahan, Gary Carnahan, and Mr. Max Destilia for attending the neighborhood meeting at the Forest Hill Neighborhood Association last week over in the Highland and Delaware Street area. And they did a great job of answering questions of the citizens there, and have them, along with other staff, have made rapid response and working on some issues that were identified there. And I really appreciate that. I've had a good, favorable feedback from the citizens, so thank you very much. And also just wanted to publicly thank our Director of Finance. Again, we heard earlier this evening of the $550,000 a year savings in principal and interest with the early retirement of the 2002 B and C bonds, and wanted to thank Doretha for identifying that and bringing it to the attention of the board so the board could take action and we could recognize those savings.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate all our schools' East programs. We've seen obvious evidence tonight of how valuable those programs are, and congratulations to Hot Springs High School and to Lakeside and to Lake Hamilton. They do a lot of things for the community, and we appreciate that. And I want to congratulate Hot Springs for being included in the top 10 romantic cities in the United States. I think that was great. I was glad to see us awarded that honor. I think our downtown is quite romantic and lovely and elegant, and we just want it to grow more so. Just a reminder about the Park Avenue Community Association meeting. Monday, February the 18th, we had Cindy Rogers, who is head of the special ed program for the Benton School District, is our new president, and Janice Jones continues to serve as secretary. Louise Lee is our vice president for communications, and Jack Waddell, one of our new, this is a great story, just forgive me, but this couple met when they were students at the Math and Science School, Jack and Lindsay Waddell. They started going out. They continued to communicate while they were in college. They got married. They went to some more college, as he said, and they chose to come back to Hot Springs, make it their home, and they both teach at the Math and Science School. He's our new treasurer.
City.
Isn't that cute? And I also want to thank the board for allowing me to serve on the MPO board, policy board. It may not be so glamorous, but however, there's going to be great changes that are possible in the Park Avenue community, so I appreciate this opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Okay. While we're talking about the East, their national conference is here on February 27th, and they were here last year, and Miss Karen Garcia is going to greet them and welcome them to our city. It'll be at the Convention Center on the 27th, but they come from all over. Their national conference is here, and amazing. I've never seen so many smart kids in one spot. It's really amazing, so we're excited to have them here in our town. Immediately following the adjournment of tonight's business meeting, there will be a televised public commentary here in the board chambers, and for those of you who will be leaving after the adjournment, please do so quietly. And there being no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. And I will call Mr. Lewin.
I figured that.
Yay.
I noticed you're looking for me.
I miss you. Yes, I was looking for you.
Well, welcome back. We're glad
Thank
you're
you.
back. I'd like to find out what happened to the Christmas lights that we had up there in the fountains. They were very sorry it's Christmas display, but the Sentinel Record said it was to celebrate the water in Hot Springs. We still got the water, but the lights are gone. I think the lights were pretty, so we ought to keep them the rest of the year.
Oh, you liked them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not for Christmas, but for advertising Hot Springs. They were great.
Here he goes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Update on the lights.
I'm not going to get dark.
Yeah.
Quick update on the Christmas lights. We have been still working with the vendor of the two fountains that we had in both of our fountains downtown. We have two additional pieces that will be coming. One is a 4-foot top, basically another piece that goes on top of the fountains on both of those. Also a ring of a splash design that gives it more of a splash effect. So those pieces are still coming. We hope to receive those by the end of February, first week of March. These were pieces that were left off the originals and did not get erected during Christmas. Oh. Our intent is to erect those fountains, and we'll have some folks come view those to see how they're working, make sure they're working properly before we completely pay for those. We still have not paid for those fountains in full. We are also working on some discounted rates for those. Moving forward, Gene Wallace attended the show in Dallas, the expo that they had there, and we were able to look at some other items that we'll be bringing for 2013, or hopefully be able to purchase for 2013. Right now, we're kind of in a planning phase, but we hope to have a large tree in the Arlington area, kind of a signature tree, with 13 or 14 smaller trees around that. Continue to have our fountains in place. Look at possibly implementing some of the lights back on Bath Street. We also have some new laser lights that will be able to light the trees. I think one of the things that we had in 2012 was we were not able to go back on the Arlington lawn. So it was kind of bland in our downtown for 2012, and a lot of the focus was just on those two fountains. I believe in 2013, as we're able to go back on Arlington's lawn with some additional trees, the fountains in place, what we've done in Adair Park with our Parks and Recreation Department, which they did a phenomenal job, as well as what we'll be doing on Bath Street. We will see a significant improvement in 2013. And again, there were a lot of reasons for that in 2012 with the maintenance that went on at Arlington Lawn. So we're excited. We've heard the citizens, and what they'd like to see in downtown, and we heard some of the concerns that 2012 wasn't what they wanted it to be. But we've got a great plan in place, and we think 2013 will be a very, very nice holiday event for our city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Ask a question, get an answer.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're right on it now.
I had people ask me, I said, I don't know, I'm not on the board. Well, anyway, I'm glad to hear that. And then, last Sunday, Oakland had a big advertising there about how much good they're doing for the city, and I thank them for it. And I think, why don't they just make an accounting to the board and to the city exactly how many dollars they take in every month, where that money goes, and who gets it, because they're bragging about all the jobs they bring and everything. Personally, my opinion, they do more harm than they do good. Maybe they'll do more good. I ask a question, I get an answer. Maybe we ought to get an answer. And I think, like President Obama says, we got to get the rich, and, they're the rich ones. Let's get them for whatever money we can. At least 5% for the budget for the Hot Spring City. Thank you.
Thank you. Did we ever get him that report? Somebody needs to give him
Which one?
I think that information is all public record, isn't it? All they have to do is ask for it.
Yeah, somebody needs to give that to him for next time. Okay, Mr. Guess Who?
Yeah, I know.
George Pritchett, you've been gone a while. Welcome home, George.
Thank you. George Pritchett. I want to commend this board and specifically our city manager and the staff that made the decision to decline the wastewater actions out at Lake Hamilton School. It's been too long since we've said no to some things that might have been detrimental and costly to the city, even though they might be necessary in some areas. So I commend you, David. I want to commend the city for the presentation tonight on the wastewater, and the water was very good. But I really want to commend this board, and again our city manager, Mr. Watkins, for the comments in the newspaper about how we're going to look at this in the future and see how it fits in. We have to see how this fits in to our economic development. A few years ago, we had a meeting, and we were going to go over 100,000 in the county, and we were going to go way up. We have to be realistic. I really commend you all for this effort. Again, I have one more commendation. Y'all don't believe this out of me, do you? Anyway, I commend this board, the mayor, and city manager for, as I understand, we've not provided all the funding, a safe haven that we have allocated to them because they've not met the requirements. I'm glad, if that be the case, that we are not doing it because they provide a few letters and have done a few things to show that they're doing something. They must comply with all of it. There are people standing in line for these funds that are very needy and need it. Now, this is not a bad cause, but we have to make them toe the line. There are many people doing the same services they're doing in this city that are not doing it with public funds. And I personally disagree that they should get any, but hold it until they meet all the requirements. I am concerned about the lack of police presence and the flashing lights at Oaklawn. I live near there. We're backing them up all the way to Kim Fab and nearly Grand Avenue South. We're doing much the same thing south down to the freeway and even to Cornerstone. And it's different during egress and access. Access isn't as bad because they come at different times. I have just talked to the fire chief briefly about that. I said, I don't think that we're going to have to look at that because it would be very dangerous in a fire to the north side. The south side, we could come from Panama. I know we wanted to save money, but we're going to injure and maim somebody or have something happen because people are not paying attention to the lights. They keep walking. A policeman that goes whistles and holds his arms up, they stop for. They don't stop for a flashing light. And lastly, I want to say that I support National Park Community College in their effort to expand, but a 300% increase in the property tax millage for National Park Community College is a tremendous burden on the city and the people and our residents, and we live in the poorest county outside of the Delta. We have many residents that when they get their little water increase and they get this and this and this, it eats up everything they get in their entitlement, be it Social Security or welfare, food stamps or whatever. We need to charge the students more, and I hope that this is defeated, and I hope the city board does not take a position to support that because it's detrimental to our citizens. Thank you.
Mayor, may I tell him something, please? It won't be ugly.
Elaine, you've never said anything ugly to me.
I just wanted you to know who's in charge. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, George.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, we are done. Say what